I'm going to give you an overview of the reading fill-in-the-blank question type on the PTE academic exam, and we'll also do a sample question together. Hi, I'm Sharon, and I'm a PTE trainer here at Benchmark Education Solutions. Today we're going to take a closer look at the reading fill-in-the-blank question type. We'll see how this question is scored. We'll do an example together, and I'll leave you with some important tips to keep in mind when answering these questions. Let's get started with a brief overview of this question. Let's see what this question type is all about. This is the second to last task in the reading section, in which you will see a text of up to 80 words. In this text, there will be multiple gap fills. You'll have one word bank with 8 choices. You'll use these words to fill in the gaps, and you'll have anywhere from 4 to 6 gaps in one text. The important part to remember with this is that you'll always have more answer choices than you have gaps that need to be filled. So the process of elimination won't necessarily work here, since you'll always have some leftover answers. That's what makes this question type a bit tricky. The answer options you'll see can either be the same word form, for example, they might all be adjectives, or they could be a mix of verbs, adjectives, and nouns. Each gap will test your knowledge of collocations, and this tests your knowledge of vocabulary and grammar. Collocations are pairs or groups of words that are naturally found together in English. Think of phrases like the general public or extremely flexible. You'll probably have noticed a lot of these in your preparation and practice, and we do go into them more in our in-depth lesson. To answer these questions, you just need to drag and drop the correct word to the gap. You can expect to see 4 or 5 of these texts on test day. Now let's take a look at how this question is scored. Reading fill-in-the-blank contributes only to your reading score. You get partial credit for each correctly completed blank. You'll get a score of 1 for each correctly completed blank, and you don't get any points if you get a completed blank wrong. So one text could have 4 or 5 potential points, which is why this question type is considered very important in terms of scoring. Now before we get started with our example, I want to point out that in this video you'll see a longer passage to help you with vocabulary and time management. This example is longer than the one you'll see on test day. A longer example will expose you to more vocabulary and more difficult passages, so you'll be better prepared to do the shorter passages you'll see on test day. Now here's our text with a word bank filled with possible answers. It's important to look at your answer options first, because this will give you a head start to know what your choices are before you read the text. Our choices are astonishing, hinted, revealed, permanently, previously, stuff, respectively, and unreal. From this list, we can see 2 adjectives, astonishing and unreal, 2 verbs in the past participle form, hinted and revealed, 3 adverbs, permanently, previously, and respectively, and 1 noun, stuff. This is helpful to keep in mind when we look at the gaps. Now I'm going to give you some time to do this example on your own. Remember, you don't have to read every word. Just look at the information around the gap and think about the part of speech the gap requires. The 5 correct answers will only be used once, and there will be 3 answers that you don't use at all. I'll give you a minute to do the exercise, and I'll start a countdown timer when you have 10 seconds to the end. Ready? Let's get started. All right, let's check our answers. Let's look at the first gap. It says, diamond rain might sound like the blank of poetry. This is all we need to find the answer. So what kind of a word is missing here? It's a noun, and you know this because there is an article, the, in front of the gap, and articles are always followed by nouns. The only noun in our group of answers is stuff. That means that stuff is the right answer. Even if we don't know much about this scientific topic, knowing the parts of speech made this answer pretty easy. Now let's look at our next gap. In this case, I'm going to read the information that comes before the gap, since the gap is at the end of the sentence. The furthest flung true planets of our solar system, the ice giants Neptune and Uranus, are about 17 and 15 times the mass of Earth blank. So we're looking at two planets, Neptune and Uranus. Since I see that there are also two numbers describing the mass, 17 and 15, I would choose respectively as the correct answer. This adverb is used when making a distinction between two things that have already been mentioned. Our next gap is, but researchers have long theorized that deep within these vast blue planets, something blank occurs at high temperatures and pressures act on the hydrocarbons deep in the oceans to produce diamonds that rain down. That's all we need for this, because it's clear that the missing word is an adjective. We need to describe the word something, and the two adjectives we have are astonishing and unreal. Which word would make more sense? Unreal means that something is not real or fake, and astonishing is another way to say surprising. And since this is a scientific text that talks about planets and the strange formation of diamonds, the correct response would be astonishing. This is indeed something that actually happens in the solar system, which is why unreal would not be correct. Our next gap is toward the end of the passage. While scientists have blank tried a variety of techniques, including lasers, to explore the possibility of forming the diamond rain, the authors point out that many of them used pressures far below. That's all we need for this as well. The missing part of speech would be an adverb here, since it's going to modify the verb tried. Our options are previously and permanently. Since the latter half of the sentence says that the authors point out that many of them used pressures, this means that scientists have tried techniques in the past or previously. That makes previously the correct adverb. Our last gap is a continuation of that sentence. Let's keep reading. Many of them used pressures far below those predicted for the necessary conditions within the ice giants, while only indirect clues blank that diamonds had been formed. Here we need a verb. Our options are either hinted or revealed. Both would make sense grammatically, but what about the context? Our context clue is indirect clues. What do clues do? Do they reveal something or do they hint at something? The correct option is hinted because clues help us understand things. Facts reveal, so that would not be correct. And we finished our example. The correct answers are highlighted in blue. How did you do? Of course, I took my time with you to explain the various answer options, but the goal would be for you to do this on your own in less than a minute. Remember that the text you'll see on test day will be shorter, but you can practice by focusing on the areas around the gaps. In our in-depth video, we'll look at more detailed examples and strategies. Now I want to leave you with some important tips to remember for this question type. Reading fill in the blank is considered to be one of the most important question types in the exam because each complete text carries 4 or 5 points. And with 4 to 5 texts, that adds up to a lot of points. So make sure you prepare for this and use your time wisely. Time management is very important, so try to stay around 1 minute per question. Remember that the reading section of the PTE exam is self-paced. Reading fill-in-the-blank questions are the second to the last question type you'll do. So as you're working on earlier portions in the reading section, make sure you control the time you spend so you'll have time at the end to do these. When it comes to time, it's a good idea to answer the easiest questions first so you can eliminate that answer from your word bank. Then spend more time on the difficult gaps, of course not going over the suggested time of 1 minute per text. If you have multiple synonyms in your word bank and you can't decide which one fits the gap the best, just double check the grammar that surrounds it. This might give you a clue to the right answer. And last, hit Next to move on to the next question when you're finished. I hope today's video gave you a general idea of what to expect for the PTE Reading Fill-in-the-Blanks question type. If you'd like to practice more PTE questions and learn more about the exam, check out our website or watch our other videos, including the in-depth lesson and helpful do's and don'ts for this question type. You can find these links in the description below. And you should also take our PTE speaking mock test. Thanks for joining me today, and if you're new with us, please subscribe to our channel. Leave me a comment below and let me know how you did on the sample question. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.